Hello, everybody, and what we're going to talk about today may be a little bit controversial, but it's going to be very interesting. I'm going to break down the history and the war between the deities and the gods. The gods came first, the deities came after. They are not the same. It's a couple of categories I have to name: deities, gods, ancestors, elementals, and things of that nature. Those are the different groups. And then you have the so-called, I call them the nothings, but some people call them aliens. Now they may come in different forms of other races. I'll say that. But excuse me, what we're going to talk about today is the beginning. What happened between the war, and this and so forth. In the beginning. And you can look at what I'm saying as mythos if that makes you feel comfortable and you're not in agreement, that's fine. But the gods and goddesses that I am referring to is you. And this may very well be your history. Okay? So I want to say that. So in the beginning, there was one creator, one supreme beyond a being, one all. This all was not called God, goddess, deity, none of that. And this is before the stars, the star seeds was created. So the all created different augmented worlds and simulations and things like that. Some may say this is during the dinosaur era, but way before anything is written, right? Way before you can even put the information in chemic form, hieroglyphics, and things like that. Way before that. It started to be a little bit overwhelming. And why would I say overwhelming? Not that the supreme being could not, handle this stuff, but the supreme being wanted it. Now, mind you, I need to pause and say this right here. The supreme being is neither female or male. It is comprised of a light that is superior to all. Yes. And the supreme being can come in many forms. Many. All. But the supreme being decided that it needed assistance and enter the star seeds, the stars, the gods. The gods was created with all the same type of power as the supreme being. The only thing that the gods could not do was destroy the supreme being. But the creator factor, as far as their light, I can go in scientific stuff and say the helium. Yes. They was comprised of the light, which is light is creation. They was able to manifest, create, just do beautiful things. So the supreme being allowed the celestial gods to create one of the augmented worlds on their own. And they did well for a while. But some of them wanted to engage in the augmented worlds. And when they began to engage in the augmented worlds, something happened where one of the parasitic beings infected one of them, draining the celestial light and contaminating the mind. So it's since beginning of everything, there has been mental wars and things like that. So one of the gods became infected with the parasitic being. And the parasitic being, the parasitic entity, is the same thing that may, in fact, be infused in other races. Don't quote me, but this is just have a little fun here as you listen. So it made the god do things that he would not otherwise do. And he started to get a little careless in the augmented worlds. And as he became a little careless, other gods followed. And by them following, they started to lose more and more of their celestial light. So what they decided to do is to force the supreme being into giving more light. But your celestial light is not something that you can go buy at the store. It's not something that you can go dig up, you know? No, it is handcrafted. It was handcrafted. They are divine beings. They were divine beings. And so after they decided to attempt to overthrow the supreme being, they decided to create deities. And they wanted to create the deities so they can have the deities help them regain their light. Because they know that that is the portion of their creation. That is the way that they create from this light. But the deities, not being of the same type of origin and beginning as the gods, did not know a world where the supreme being was like all powerful and things like that. The deities came into a world where everything is pretty much, I do what I want. I don't have any law and order. You know, I have my own style. You'll have this type of deity, that type of deity, that type of chaos, this type of chaos. And I told you before that the gods had dibbled and dabbled in those worlds. So it appeared like it was nothing to them. But the deities became rebellious and tricked the gods. And they tricked them into what? Into coming to spaces like this longer and longer. And as the gods remained on planes like this, more of their memory became, what's the word that I can use? Erased. They forgot their celestial homes. They even forgot where they even buried the supreme being. You know, they have stories of Tiamat in the burials and things like that, Osiris, Asar, all that stuff is connected if you go and you review it and put it together. But let me stay on track. As they stayed in realms like this, the density, the thick mass, they started to lose their celestial homes. The star seeds started to lose that information. They no longer had it. But who kept it? The deities. And the deities used that information above the gods. Now they wanted the gods in human form to worship them, to call on them. They manipulated the gods. They took their history. They told the gods nothing about themselves. They only wanted the gods to look up to them. And when I say gods, I mean gods and goddesses. So you may find in this world, whereas you don't hear that much about gods. You know, sometimes they say, I'm a god, and all this stuff, but you have no evidence. It's no evidence of us even being gods or goddesses. There's no evidence of our superiority or our heights and things like that. And one of the reasons why there is no evidence, that's where the other parasitic beings and the other parasitic races comes into play. They helped overthrow the gods. They helped as far as us being manipulated with this entertainment thing. with these different type of obstacles being placed in our life, with us not knowing a fellow god or a fellow goddess, we view them as enemies, not allies. We take from them, steal from them, beat them, kill them, hurt them, all that type of thing, when we don't know that they are our fellow gods and goddesses, that we all was created together in a celestial divine place. But the fall of the gods came when they overthrew the supreme being. And the supreme being was all for it. Ultimately, the supreme being was all about growth. Do your own thing. I'm not trying to suppress you. I want to see how far you can go with this. I'm not trying to hold you down. I'm not trying to do any of that. But the parasitic being is. You can see that in these places, there's a lot of rules on us. We only can do so much. They tell us how to live our life. They tell us how to raise our children. They tell us what shots to give them. They tell us this. They tell us that. You know, we have no access to how we want to do it. And then if we decide to go a different route, it's such a headache. It's just easier to comply. Like I made that other video before and I said, sometimes it feels like I just got to give my money to this person or give my money to this company and this and so forth. And sometimes I want to throw my hands up and say, forget it. But you know what? Those companies say, okay, if you say forget it, click, I'm cutting off this, I'm taking this, I'm doing this or I'm doing that. So they really give us no choice. They just want to make it seem like we're in a place where they have choices, but it's not. They stranglehold us and keep us down. That is the place that the gods and goddesses have found themselves, here. And if we don't wake up, we will remain here. And deities and parasitic beings will reign in the places of the gods that is rightfully ours. We are not supposed to be on this plane. And if we in this plane, we're supposed to be it's supposed to be easy to pop out of this body and pop in it. Pop out, pop in. Not just when we so-called fall asleep into the memories. Did you know those dreams are your memories? Are parts of the paths that you walked in other lives. Pay attention to them. We might see each other in there. That's because we was with each other. I might have been your friend, your auntie, your uncle. Depending on how it went. We have been trapped and enslaved in this thing longer than we all could ever admit or even acknowledge. But it looks like freedom, doesn't it? It looks like it. But sometimes I'm not so sure. Because if I decide not to pay this and not to pay that, you think they're going to give me a break? No. I have to beg and plead them to keep this on and keep that on. So no, what kind of freedom is that? And then sometimes they want to give us something and sometimes they don't. And then you know how I know? Look, I'm feeling comfortable with you guys. Whoever's going to view this video, it's meant for you. You know how I know it's something? We can go through something and it's an explanation for us being the gods because we're in it. But what about all these other deities we call on and we still get that boot on our neck? It's like, where are they? What are you doing? How much stuff do I got to place on this altar? How many spiritual baths do I really have to take? Do I got to take them every 30 minutes in order for you to bless me or to help me or to work with me? Something must be up. What is it? Is it this ancient war because I'm your creator? Is that the thing you don't want to say? That you're working with the parasitic beings that keep me down and you only appear like you are a friend? Is that it? I wonder. It should not be that hard for us to ascend in this place. We are star seeds. We are travelers. We are not supposed to be bound. Did you know that you're not supposed to stay on the ground? Did you know that you're supposed to be able to float and fly and run faster than any bird? Did you know that that's you? Did you know that that's the things that you are supposed to be able to do? That's your right. You are not human. And don't let them tell you that you are a god and a goddess. And you come before all. You sat there with the supreme being. And if you hear it, you hear it. If you don't, you don't. That means it's not meant for you.